Welcome to the Select Board meeting, the Town of Dartmouth, for July 10, 2023. We will be going into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21. Need a motion to do so.
So moved. Second.
Right now, we are four here in the building, so we will take we need a roll call vote for this. Okay, let's vote. Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, unanimous. We will go into executive session and return as close to 6:30 as possible. Thank you very much.
Eight,
Oh, boy.
really?
Here we go.
Okay, welcome to the July 10th, 2023 meeting of the Dartmouth Select Board. This is an open meeting. It begins in room 304. We may have one member on Zoom, so therefore we will be announce this meeting is being recorded, and we will have, if he does join us, which I think he will, we're going to have individual votes on every vote because of the Zoom meeting. Now, why don't we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing while we honor our veterans, both past and present. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Okay, first order of business, we have an appointment. Appointment of Constable Richard Manise. Richard, are you in the building?
This is not him, huh?
No, it's not. Lost that contest, okay. Richard
we
need to
can-
be here for his appointment?
We've done it in the
He
past.
does not need to be here for the
No.
appointment. But if the board has any questions, or if you want to continue it, we can continue it to the next meeting.
Motion to appoint.
Second, as long as the chief approves it, it's good for me.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Mr. Tracy has not joined us, so we're going to vote. Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Richard Manise is appointed as constable. Thank you very much. Now we have something rather special. Judy Lund is here in the building. Could you please step forward for us, Judy?
You want me here?
Right there.
I'm here. I am present.
Okay, well, I'm going to say this, that it's really appropriate that we have a lot of young people here today, because the way we run our government is with volunteers who are dedicated day in and day out, year after year after year. Judy Lund has done this for this town with an absolute dedication that bar none compares to anybody we've ever had in town, and I've, on a personal basis, it's been a pleasure to work with her. How many years has it been, Judy?
Well, I'm not sure. I sort of lost count. I moved here in 1969, and I've probably been doing something ever since then for this town.
In service to our town. And our town is better for it. Judy is elected to retire, and I'm gonna walk down, if I may.
While you're walking,
Go right ahead.
I will tell you that I didn't realize that I had forebears in this town until after I'd moved here. And it turns out that the first Protestant minister over all of Dartmouth, sent by the government in Boston to be minister over all of Dartmouth, was my mother's ever so great. And the select board was charged with collecting tax to pay for this minister. This, as you may remember, was a totally Quaker town in 1708 when the Reverend Mr. Hunt was sent here. Yep. So 2 selectmen went to jail, and 1 selectman died in jail because this town would not pay for my relative.
Oh, my. Wow. We're in trouble, I guess.
Hopefully, hopefully honoring,
Yeah.
His
hopefully
was a
honoring Judy
volunteer
Bell.
job.
It was
as
him.
Mine have been volunteer jobs.
What other positions did you have besides the clerk?
I've been on the I've been a representative of town meeting for a very long time. I started out on the cemetery commission, which is why I realized that nobody knew where the cemeteries were in this town.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
one thing leads to another, and you just keep plodding along, and you do what you can do, and now that cemetery database is online. Wasn't at the time it was published, because online wasn't really working then.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to know whatever you need to participate in town and help out and make a difference,
So it's your turn, kids.
here you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
As
Just
always,
before-
the historian, bringing up a little bit of history.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Judy's contribution to this town is not well known by a lot of people. But people who have been involved in town government know exactly what Judy has done. In all seriousness, when she was talking about the cemetery database, there were cemeteries throughout this entire town, old Quaker cemeteries, old family cemeteries, that some people knew, maybe not. Because of Judy's work, the town knows where our ancestors, our forebears, the people who lived in this town, permanently reside. People like Judy, people like Bob Harding, have a wealth of knowledge of what this town was, and because of that knowledge, we now know where we can be. So we celebrated our 350th 9 years ago. We're one of the oldest incorporated towns in Massachusetts. But people, citizens like Judy, like Bob Harding, and others, they're the true jewels of this town, because it's the knowledge that they pass for us and the future to kind of basically say we're just not just this little tiny town in Dartmouth. We're just not this little town. We're a damn good town in this. We're a great place to live. We got great people here, and they're part of the reason for it. So this is, I'm very pleased that, I'm very proud to have known Judy all these years, and I fully respect the work that she has done. So, thank you.
Now, if I might just say, the folks that are here for one of the few times you might actually come to the town hall, make sure on your way out you stop on the second floor, we're now on the third floor, and check out the showcases that we have. Judy's book is featured in the showcase that after her dedicated research on those cemeteries, she did publish a book. And again, girls, despite her stature, that is a force to be reckoned with.
No is not the answer.
No,
Yes.
you just didn't ask the question correctly.
This is one of the pleasures of being on this board, because we can associate ourselves with people like Judy and others. Okay, thank you very much. Now we have some fun as well today coming up as well. We have a recognition of the girls' youth basketball team. We have citations for each and every member. I'm going to read one of them. The citation reads, from the town of Dartmouth, official select board citation, be it known that the Dartmouth Select Board hereby extends its congratulations in recognition of winning the 2023 Metro West Division III 7th grade girls basketball state championship.
Yes, sir.
Would you come up and we'll give you a certificate? Allie O'Neill. Okay, Allie. Ava Matic, I'm sorry, close enough?
Ava McCool.
Jade Kennedy. Excuse me. Jade Kennedy.
Okay.
Not here, okay.
All right. For the coaches, you can give that to
Okay.
Jade.
Joanna Lenning. Kelsey DeFusco.
We're going to pass it around.
Ella Sorensen. Lainey Madison. It's as bad as my last name to pronounce. Coro. Is that right close? Not even close. Okay. All right. May Ambrose. Sammy Murphy. Savannah Bittencourt.
Not here. Okay.
Not here. Do we miss
Give
anybody?
that to the coaches.
Okay.
We get three coaches here.
We do.
Peter DeFusco. Come on up. Great job.
Congratulations, Peter. Good job.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dan Murphy?
Congratulations.
Good job. And Ryan Metzen.
Okay.
You're welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Good
Yes.
job, Brian.
Hey, Ryan. Thank you. A long time I haven't seen you. You haven't gotten any shorter, okay? I'm getting shorter, but
I need a center.
that wonderful. Thank you, girls. Congratulations.
Great job.
I'm also going to give a shout out to the parents.
Yes.
We got
Because
a microphone issue there. There you go.
I'm trying to hold up my machine here. A shout out to the parents, because being a former parent of a traveling sports team player, there was a lot of time on the road, in fast food lanes, uniform changing in the back seat, and I would give anything to go back to that in a heartbeat. So enjoy. It's crazy, but enjoy the ride. And congratulations, girl. This is quite an honor.
Okay.
Very much so.
It's a real
It's-
team effort. Thank you. Thank you to the coaches and thank you to the girls. Wonderful accomplishment. And from an old coach back in the old days, I had...
He knew Dr. Naismith, too, so.
I had Mr. Tattlebaum's brother as one of my young basketball players in the league many years ago.
Oh, my
It was a
goodness.
lot of fun. I enjoyed it immensely, especially the looking back when these young kids. They all had such great enthusiasm, and they all wanted to participate. But we never won a state championship. You guys did. So, do we
it's-
have any highlights?
So it's all 8th grade next year for you, everybody?
Some are going 7th, 3 are going
So, okay.
Great.
So then,
Future looks.
so the future looks pretty good in the state girls championship for the high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
2025, 2026, 27, 28, right?
Jot
Okay.
it down.
All right, good.
Coach Jalbert's licking his chops.
We'll be looking forward to those trips to Boston Garden.
Oh, boy.
That's for sure.
That's it, Sean. Pile it on.
We've had a dry spell, so
No
yeah.
pressure. No pressure, though.
Yeah.
Seriously, no
Boston
pressure.
Garden is no longer with us.
Great job.
Garden's always going to be there.
It's still the garden. It's TD
Yeah, that's a
Garden.
good point. Okay, thank you. Next.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you,
Do not
coaches.
feel
Thank
like
you,
you have to
parents.
stay for the rest of the meeting.
You can, if
You don't
want-
have to stay. You're more than welcome to. It's,
Okay.
we got some really exciting stuff to talk about here.
Oh my God, what is yours?
Good
I
excuse.
saw Laney.
How about that
yeah.
new basketball court? Okay.
Oh,
See you
hello.
later.
That's a Manson, right? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's the kid that plays at Dartmouth High.
Yeah, Ryan.
That's
yeah.
Ryan, right?
Ryan Matson.
Okay.
That's the big boy.
That's the big boy.
And Ryan's
Thank you, Judy.
wife is Manny Cadero's
Barry Cadero's,
daughter.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
And
Manny Cadero's
Hunter's on the
grandson.
team this
Holy
year.
cow, he's a big kid.
Sean, you know how to clean a room out, I'll tell you. That's amazing.
It's easy enough. It's easy sometimes.
Okay.
Not that funny.
That was awesome. Okay, next.
This will be
Mr. Gracie.
just
Mr.
as
Grace, something to say?
riveting.
No, he's here.
Oh, I saw it here. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the police flock camera system recommendation. Chief Levick.
Before we start, Chief, couldn't you find a product with a better name?
I'm here tonight with Laura Holland from Flock Safety to discuss their automated license plate reader system. It's commonly referred to as ALPR or LPR, to shorten it up a little bit. They're basically pole-mounted cameras that are able to read the license plate on passing vehicles. This data is then used to deter crime and also to solve crimes that happen in town. They handle the installation, maintenance, as well as all the database processing on their end. The way it works is they would mount poles around town with the cameras on them. That's certain key locations that they would help us to select based on our data. In addition to that, we receive commonly camera data, video footage right now. A lot of people have cameras, private cameras, security systems that are installed in stores, buildings around town, which we rely on, and it's working very well with assisting us in solving crime. The limitation with most camera systems is they're not very good at capturing license plate data. So we'll get a picture of a car, a suspect, whatnot, but we don't have the plate. Now, that data is very valuable in and of itself, but having the plate would be much more valuable. That's where these cameras come in. They're designed to read the plates, just like you go through the tolls. If anyone didn't try to pay the tolls, you're going to get that bill in the mail. It read your license plate. So this is not new technology, but it's something we're looking to bring here in town to help us become a little more effective at fighting crime. The additional benefit with these cameras, they're able to have support what they call a hot list. It can be updated automatically, so if your car gets stolen, it ends up on the hot list. That data gets imported into the cameras. If a stolen vehicle were to drive by the camera, it could in near real time alert the police department that there's a stolen vehicle, the location it just drove past, and we can then be looking for that vehicle. They're not designed for traffic enforcement, so if that is on your minds question-wise, first of all, it's not allowed in Massachusetts to use cameras for that purpose, and these cameras are not designed at all to support that, so that's not going to be something we're doing with the cameras. It's a popular system. It's used in nearby communities such as Fall River, Westport, Taunton, Seekonk, Wareham, Middleborough, and then in Rhode Island, Providence uses it, Tiverton, Bristol, Cranston, and East Providence. There's other communities that use cameras. It might not be Flock's system, it may not be LPR, but they use cameras. For Haven, New Bedford come to mind as a couple of communities that utilize that. I'd like to have Laura walk us through a presentation just so you can understand a little more about the system, the technical details. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have after that. And what we're seeking tonight is basically permission to go forward, install a limited number of these pole-mounted cameras around town on town property. So with that, I'll have Laura bring us through.
Thanks so much, Chief. And thanks, Select Board, for hearing this presentation tonight. As Chief said, I'm Laura Ann Holland. I work in community education and local government policy for Flock. So I want to start us off by telling you a little bit about where we came from, because I think that informs how we approach this technology and our partnership with our police departments across the country. So we were founded in 2017 by someone who himself was a victim of property crime. And he had cameras on his house, and he provided the footage of the individuals breaking into his home, of the vehicle they left in, all of that to police. And they said, you know, this is great, but it's not really helpful for us. What we really need is a picture of the back of the car. We need the license plate information to know who this is. And so he's a smart guy. He went to a technical college, an engineer, and he was like, I'm going to build this. So when they come back to do this to my neighbors, we'll have the data that the police need. And he did. He built our very first device. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, the same individuals came back. But this time, they actually had the image of the back of the car to provide to police, and they were able to make an arrest in that case. And so I think that tells you how we approach this, right? We're coming at this as neighbors wanting to give police the data that they tell us they need to solve crime. And we focus on the back of the vehicle because that's what we know makes the most difference in the most number of crimes. About 70% of crimes are committed with a vehicle. And so your chief talked a lot about stolen vehicles, but we've helped customers across the country with things like retail theft, with narcotics investigations, with really unfortunate homicide investigations, with missing seniors, missing children. All of these things can be solved when you have the right data, and that's what Flock wants to provide. So I'll tell you a little bit about how the technology works. We're different from traditional license plate reading technology that was an infrared read of the plate. We actually take a picture of the back of the car and then put that through a machine that can identify the characteristics of the license plate number. So it's much more accurate than that historical technology that was just an infrared read of the plate. We call this image the vehicle fingerprint because it provides more than just the license plate, right? It, of course, provides that information, but can also provide the state. It can provide the color, the make of the car. If there's any kind of unique identifiers of the vehicle, your police will be able to have that information for their investigation. But as we talk about what we are, I think it's really important for us also to clarify what we're not. right? This is not people. This license plate reading system does not include people. It's not facial recognition, like the chief said. It's not traffic enforcement. And there's no personal identifiable information in the system. We're a solar-powered system, so if you guys deploy on our poles, then we will provide a solar panel, and like the chief said, we maintain all of that technology installation onward throughout our partnership. So there's really three ways that this works, and I'll describe each of them because I think that it's important to know just how much value add this can give your police department. Right, so your chief described the hot list feature, and that's what we refer to as our proactive approach to law enforcement. So these are the real-time alerts anytime there's a stolen vehicle that comes into your community, if there is a missing person that comes into your community, if there's an active felony warrant, your law enforcement will get a notification. And we've actually had customers tell us that that helps them reduce other crimes in their community, because until you get this data, you don't realize just how many stolen vehicles are driving through your community. And the International Association of Chiefs of Police tells us that 90% of stolen vehicles are associated with other crimes, right? So when you're able to get a hold of stolen vehicles, you can then reduce property crime, mail fraud, retail theft, all of these issues that are plaguing our communities. So that's the proactive approach, right? The other piece is investigative, and this is where we go back in time to find a vehicle that was associated with a crime that was reported. This is like what your chief described that his officers are already doing, right? They're having to get video footage from citizens after a crime occurs and piece together the pieces of the puzzle to identify a potential suspect. And our data allows police to do that through providing them the information we know they need, the license plate and picture of the back of the car. Anytime you're talking about new technology, right, it's really important to just be proactive about thinking about things like privacy, equity, accountability, transparency. And at Flock, we've tried to be really forthcoming in the way we approach that by structuring our partnership in key ways. And I want to highlight a few of those. It'll be very brief. But first and foremost, you guys own your footage. With a Flock partnership, that means you guys, the police department, determines who they want to share with and who has access to the information. We will never sell your information. We don't share it without your permission. We also only store the data for 30 days, which we think is enough time for law enforcement to do investigative work, but doesn't create so much risk that there's just so much data out there that could potentially be misused. I already mentioned we don't include personal identifiable information, but that means that we don't connect at Flock to third-party databases like the DMV, like Carfax, that includes those private details. We also require an investigative reason for every single search that's done in our system, and this is proactively provided to the chief in an audit log so he can make sure the officers are searching just according to investigations and that there's no misuse. And finally, the last thing I want to highlight on this is that we have a transparency portal that many of our customers use, and I'll show you an example of what one looks like. But this is something that is customizable, and your chief has expressed interest in using this for your community so that you can help your citizens when they have questions about what this technology is, right? It identifies what it detects, what it doesn't detect, how it's used, how it's not. As you can see, this organization does a lot with our technology, so they have a lot of information shared, but you can also include the number of hot list hits and the number of searches that you've gotten so that you can see really what the return on investment is for Dartmouth. So I just want to end on a couple of examples of how this technology has worked. I so appreciate your time, but I think it is really helpful to see how this data is really making a difference in critical moments. So this was the very first Amber Alert that we were involved in, and unfortunately, this child was abducted from their mother while they were out on a walk. Worst case scenario, can't even imagine the trauma that this family is experiencing. But the mother wasn't able to get a license plate number because they had removed their license plate. This was a thoughtful abduction. They knew exactly what they were doing. Unfortunately, Chambly, this community, had installed our technology a few weeks prior, and they were able to get the image of the vehicle and go back a few days and find that exact same vehicle that had been casing that same neighborhood looking for families to do this type of abduction. And guess what? When they were doing that, they did not take off their license plate. So they had a license plate number. And they were able to then find a suspect. And as you can see from the timeline of events on the screen, within 6 hours, they were able to find the suspect, use another one of our cameras to identify them in another county, get a felony warrant, and make an arrest in the case. And I know this story pulls at the heartstrings because it's an Amber Alert, but it does show just the types of things that your law enforcement might have to deal with in a worst case scenario. This is an example of a carjacking out of Elizabethtown. So our technology was used to solve multiple different stolen vehicle recoveries in this community, but this one specifically was a violent carjacking, and the vehicle was returned to the owner within 24 hours. This is a story out of Perth Amboy in New Jersey, and they had a hit and run, a fatal crash, and those are really, really hard to solve. I was actually just listening to a Freakonomics podcast about how hard those are to solve, but our technology helped this department solve this case, and we've helped countless others with hit and runs. Shootings in Cranston and lots of other success stories. So happy to answer your questions, and again, so appreciate your time.
So, like everything in life, how much does this cost?
Yes. So we're $3,000 per year per camera, and we charge an installation fee that depends on the type of installation. It'll be most likely about $650 for Dartmouth, and that's a one-time fee.
$650,000
Per camera.
$3,000 per camera. We have a giant town, 66 square miles. And how do you determine how many cameras and how effective it would be based on your experience?
Yeah, I'll talk about Flock side and then defer to the chief for your plans.
That was either one.
Yeah, so you're talking about how many cameras would Dartmouth need, essentially? It depends on, what level of coverage we're looking to do. So I'm looking to start out with 4 cameras, and just to evaluate the system. And then potentially, depending on the results of our evaluation, look to expand it. I believe like Seekonk recently installed about 20 of them, so we're probably around the same number. You're looking at, and we work with Flock and our crime analyst to determine the best locations to put these at. Obviously, people coming into town, there's only so many ways you can come into town. Those would be the areas most likely to be targeted with these cameras.
We are a public-private partnership too, so what a lot of our departments do is police will make an initial investment and then businesses will also install on their property.
And would businesses pay the same, $3,000 a year?
Yes.
And the one time? I have a question. Because you are not, first of all, if there's an amber or silver alert, and usually, typically those go out with a license plate and a description of the car, are your cameras, do they trigger that they've seen the car and the plate and trigger the police department?
They
Like
do.
They just saw that?
Yes, yeah, it's within about 15 seconds.
Okay.
So we get that information from the national databases, and then anytime it passes a camera, push it out to either MDT or cell phones.
Okay. My next question is there a way for it to tell if they're illegally attached plates?
So you could tell based on the image, right? But we aren't going to trigger on that.
It doesn't trigger, okay.
I guess I have a second part to the question I first asked, because I think there's a point where you need to have X amount of cameras to be effective. And my concern would be, we have a lot of long streets and a lot of intersections for a town, and at what point do you say you need X to really be effective versus, what the chief thinks are the most important intersection, but may not be as effective? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we work with our customers and our own team of engineers who have experience on looking at traffic patterns. A lot of times you might think that, oh, this is a exit, from a facility that keeps getting robbed, but when you look at the traffic patterns, it actually makes more sense to put that camera down a little bit further because of the most likely route for how people are leaving, right? So we look at all of that data when we make our recommendations. I've seen some of our police customers will actually start with a few and then they'll expand over time. And we can do that in phases, right? So if you look at like an initial deployment to test the system, then we can look at a first step phase of expansion and then another phase of expansion, all of course within whatever our customers feel comfortable paying.
Do you do much of an analysis of the town and the streets to come up with your recommendations?
Yes, that's what we have solutions consultants who are responsible for doing that.
Is there a number that you have in mind?
No, I think so. We also are, of course, constrained by budgets too. And so I think, like the chief said, looking at the surrounding communities, at least 20 is probably what we would recommend.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gracie, anything out there?
No, it's interesting. Thank you.
I have another question, of course.
Brooks? Yes.
State versus town roads. So if we wanted to put something on Route 6, is that a contract we have to get involved or discussion with the state?
Yes, I would seek their permission before we mounted anything on their property.
Okay.
And we have a permitting team that helps your chief with that too.
And my last question, I think, is personnel to monitor this at the station. What does that look like?
So the system, my understanding anyways, correct me if I'm wrong, it would send alerts to us, and we could decide where those alerts go. Clearly, they would go to our dispatch center. In addition, we can push them out to individual officers' cars in the area, and they could monitor it as well. So it would be monitored primarily by our dispatch center, but also by individual cruisers. Once we get the system, this is part of the idea of the trial, is to see how it works, try out different features of it, and see what works best for us.
Thank you.
What if you don't like it?
You know, renew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 1 year,
So-
it's a 1 year
Right.
contract, so, yep.
It
Anybody
may
else?
just be the deterrent that we need.
You want one in front of your house? Is that
Like
what you
Ring
said?
cameras, you know? So,
What do you need from
need
us?
to endorse Ring, by the
Just
way.
a vote to approve the chief to do the trial.
Yeah, basically, some of these will be mounted in town property, basically, so I was just looking for approval to do the trial, but also to put these poles up on any town property, mostly beside the roadways.
How high up do they go, by the way?
Oh, they're about 12 feet tall.
Keep Madison away from there. He could reach it.
Yeah.
12 feet?
Any questions?
About 12 feet.
Yeah.
Mr. McDonald, question? Mr. Mickelson?
No.
I do have,
Go right
I do have
ahead.
a question. The initial trial, chief, would there be at least some kind of a press release as to the locations of the cameras, or would you just kind of just say, this is where we're going to keep it, and if somebody asks what they are, then we'll let them know, we're going to let people know this is where we've mounted these test trial cameras?
Yeah, so I would not be opposed to a press release. Obviously, I'm here as a public discussion about these cameras. It's not a secret. We're not trying to keep it a secret. But to disclose the exact location, I'd probably rather not do that. We'll just say we have them, and they're around town, and some people may see them and identify them, and other people may not. I'd prefer not to disclose the locations. Because then if you know where to avoid driving,
Right.
well, it makes it a little easier to commit
Correct. Well,
crimes,
that's
because you
what
say,
I'm-
I'm going to take another route.
That's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm
Okay.
trying to figure out.
Defeats the whole purpose.
Right. Okay. I'll make a motion that we allow the Dartmouth Police Department and the chief to proceed with this program on a trial basis.
I'll second that.
Second?
Yep.
Any discussion from anybody? Comments?
No.
Let's vote. Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. Thank you, Chief. Good luck.
Thank you.
Great idea to try it. Okay,
Hands up.
thank you. Next will be the energy aggregate contract update. Mr. McInnes.
So Kathy, we have the PowerPoint up there if you would like to give it. Kathy Stanley, our energy manager, is here to update the board on the renewal of the Dartmouth electricity aggregation program.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Stanley. I'm your energy manager. I've been working with Sean since 2019. Time flies when you're having fun.
We're all
I'm
having,
here to talk to you about the Dartmouth electricity aggregation program today.
Oh, do you want to talk from up there? That microphone.
Oh, then
That
I
way you
can just
go
push
through the
buttons?
slides.
Okay, sure. I'm going to turn around.
You can adjust where that is.
Everybody can hear me okay? Let me just... So you can see the slide says Good Energy. They're our consultant that helps us with this program. I let them do the heavy lift today. I went out right. Can I just hit enter?
Hit the arrow down.
There we go. So Dartmouth has been participating in an aggregation program for their residents for electricity since 2016. These are our contract terms going back for the past several years. We currently have a contract in place with Constellation for a rate of 10 cents per kWh for our residential customers. That will go through February. Oh no, that will go through this coming up January. So our residents have saved a lot of money with this program if you compare what they paid for electricity to what they would have paid if they had remained on the utility rate. And we think that's good. Mm-hmm. This is a really interesting slide. I want to spend a little time on this. So if you look at this slide, the blue line, which goes up and down, is the cost of what, and this is Good Energy did this slide for National Grid Electric, but if you did the same thing for Eversource Electric, you would see a very similar type of graph. This shows you the changes in electricity prices for a residential customer in Massachusetts since 2016. And it's a good slide because one of the reasons why this is such a good program is back in the late 90s when we first deregulated energy in Massachusetts, the department determined that the utilities were not allowed to hedge either natural gas or electricity prices for anybody. So that meant that every 3 months or 6 months, depending on the rates, that utility would have to go to market to buy their electricity or natural gas, which they would pass through to their end user. The utilities do not generate electricity. They do not own generating assets. All of that stopped with the deregulation of energy in the late 90s. So these are pass-through costs. They don't make any money on them. They don't mark them up. They don't care where you buy your electricity. It does not matter to them one bit. The only way that they make money is by charging you a fee to use their wires to transfer that electricity from where they pick it up to your meter. So they don't have any skin in the game here. If you were able to put an aggregation program together for your residential customers, however, as like the town of Dartmouth has done, you'll see there's an orange line that goes straight across the bottom of that graph. Because we are doing this for our residential customers with a consultant under the laws of Massachusetts, we are allowed to hedge our price. So when we see electric prices are low, we can sign a 3-year contract and keep that price the same. The utility can't do that. They've got to do the blue line, but we can. And it's a great thing to do for residences of a town because it's a service that you can offer for them that they can't do on their own. They could do it on their own. Many residential customers have joined up with other companies that offer this rate, but then they have to do their own contract review. They wouldn't have to hire a lawyer, but they would have to be concerned about risk of that contract. There's a lot of downsides to that. They frequently in Massachusetts, we have found our residential customers, and most of the time our older residential customers get involved in contracts that are less than attractive for them, and in some cases downright illegal. So by having those residents be able to participate in an aggregation program where the town uses their counsel to make sure those contracts are good and they can hire a consultant that is knowledgeable in this field, you can offer this service to your residents. And you saw from the previous slide how much money they're able to save. It's not just the savings, though. It's the elimination of risk for those customers, and there's a comfort level in knowing that their electric price isn't going to change for the total of that contract. So it's a really good thing to do. Let's see. So our current community aggregation program rates, we have 3 different rate options. We have the standard product, which is what a customer would get if they do nothing, and that's the default price is 10 cents. And then currently there are 2 other options for those customers that really want to participate in electricity where it comes from a higher amount of renewable electricity. They can opt in to one of these other programs where they pay more, but they're going to be getting a much higher renewable energy component. We have a new product coming up in, I believe it's going to be in January. So our prices are going to increase. We're going to go from 10 to 15 cents. I can talk a little bit more about that. Actually, that's the optional basic product. Our default product will be 16 cents for residential customers. That's going to be I believe, a 2-year contract, December 2003 to November 2005. And then we do have a 100% renewable electric contract for those customers who want to elect an option that gives them more renewable energy. It's important that everybody understands that these electric aggregation programs work because they are opt-out programs. If you tried to set up an aggregation program in Massachusetts that was an opt-in program, where the only people that would participate are those who would actually take action to opt in, you would not have enough people in the program to attract anybody to bid on that contract, because the margins in this business are very, very thin. So either you offer a contract where you will get the majority of the residents participating, or no one participates. That's what happens. I know the department has not made those opt-in products legal at any rate, because it wouldn't make market sense to do that. But I just wanted to mention that to people. I think that's an important thing to note. So let's look a little bit about what's going on in the electricity business right now to explain that big jump from 10 cents to 15. These are Eversource basic service prices that came into play in this winter. I'm just looking to see when they started. I think these rates were in February. Our residential electric price was 25 cents. Our commercial was 26. So that's a big jump from where those prices were prior to that. There's a couple reasons for that. I made a couple of notes. Oops. Oh, that's the wrong thing I'm looking at. The biggest reason for electricity prices being this high in New England has to do with the fact that 50% of electricity in New England is made from natural gas. So anything that affects the natural gas market is going to impact the electric market. The three major factors that are impacting the natural gas market right now are competition with Europe. So there's a war in the Ukraine, and that war is resulting in limited supplies of natural gas being able to be available to our friends in Europe. In fact, their prices are significantly higher than ours. So when you have, and believe it or not, we do ship a lot of natural gas on boats. When those suppliers are trying to decide where to bring that gas, they're going to go to the markets that are the highest. So we're actually competing, especially in winter time, with Europe for some of our natural gas. That's one problem. We in New England are at the end of an interstate pipeline system, and so in the winter we are constrained with the amount of natural gas that's available. So our electric operating plants, generating plants, need to compete for heating customers for natural gas in the winter, and that also drives up electric prices. So between Europe, the wars, and this competition for heating, these prices become very volatile in the winter. And I would think that until we see some kind of political resolution to some of these problems, you're going to continue to see this very volatile pricing. So now, looking at 25 cents, our 15 cents doesn't look too bad, right? We're thinking. And I think one of the major decision-making points of the team, I think there's probably over 20 different towns involved in our aggregation that make this decision together. One of our major decision-making thoughts was we are more concerned about protecting our residents from very high electric prices in the winter than we are about maybe getting the rock bottom price in the summer. So while we feel you could go back to the utility potentially for a month or two in the summer and receive a price that's under 15, it's very unlikely that you would get a price that would be less than that in the winter. In fact, it would be substantially higher. So that's our major concern, protecting our residents from sticker shock that would just be unbearable for them. This is the Dartmouth Community Electricity Aggregation page, which you can access through actually through our website. And this is the information that is available to our residents that they can use to find out if they're on the program or figure out if there's a problem with their bill. Or I personally take most of the calls from your residents myself, and so far we've never had one that we couldn't resolve. So so looking forward, our plan is to start looking at renewal contract prices in the early spring of '25. Current participants will automatically be switched to the new contract in December. They don't need to take any action. And a letter will be mailed in late October that will contain the details of this.
As we have in the past.
Yep.
I do have a couple of very quick notes that I'm just going to slip in here because I can. I just wanted you to know that we were awarded a Green Communities grant for $105,000, and that award came in January. That was for some variable frequency drives and heat pumps and some insulation. The total project cost will be $165,000. We had $40,000 in utility incentives that we were able to capture for that. We also were awarded a GAP grant from the Department of Environmental Protection for our DPW headquarters. We're going to be doing some energy management system upgrades and some heat pumps there. That project will be an $87,000 grant. We'll have $11,000 in incentives, and we'll contribute $15,000 to that. And we did also submit a Renews America Schools grant application in December for just about $3 million. We did not get it, but neither did anybody else except for Natick, so I don't feel too bad. But we will be resubmitting Natick.
Got it?
They're the only town in Massachusetts that received any funding.
I wonder why.
90% of the applicants didn't get funding, so I don't feel too bad about that, but I will be back for my money. So we're going to resubmit in December for that, and that will be for a bunch of energy management systems for the middle school and a bunch of other work for the schools. So that's what's going on with respect to our current energy picture, and hopefully I'll be back a couple of times a year to fill you in on how all of that's going.
Comments?
Oh, yeah.
Great,
I got some stuff.
Great programs.
I got some, I have some, I want to get some clarifications here, just to,
Yeah.
okay. Because we have the three products, the three-tier products, I have the default, okay, so I'm getting the 10 cents, 10.1047, yada, yada, yada. My neighbor decides to go with the green and pays the higher rate. It's the same electricity, except he feels better because he's chosen. I just want to make the clarification that the electricity in my neighbor's house isn't a different color or a different grade or a different type than what I'm getting. It's just that he feels better because he's paying for a greener product than I am.
We don't separate the electrons.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure because
all on
right, I
paper,
just want to make sure because sometimes there is that confusion. Now, those of us who are on the basic product, when it comes times to the renewal, are we going to the default and then we have to ask to go to the basic? Or
You're
do
gonna
we go to the
yes.
basic?
No, you're going to go to the default product, which is going to be slightly more expensive than the most basic product.
Right.
but it will have a little more of a renewable, adds 10% additional Massachusetts Class 1 renewable energy to the state
Okay,
minimum.
but can we go and say we don't want that, we want it to go to the basic product?
Yes,
Okay,
that's an option clause.
okay.
You'll be getting a mailing to tell you how to do it. It's on the website, or you can always call me, and I will make sure that you get what you need.
I just want to make sure, because generally in social media circles, this comes up all too often, and we try to point people in the right direction as to what. And I think part of the thing for people out there who are looking at their bill saying, am I part of the program? It's on the first page of your bill. If it doesn't say Dartmouth CEA on it, you're not in the program. If it
That's
says
correct.
Dartmouth CEA on it, Constellation, you're in the program.
That's correct.
So that's the most important part. And I can tell you this, that this does work, because I recently switched over a property in Dartmouth that I became the manager for. They were on the Eversource rate. I switched over to the CEA, and I'm saving about $500 a month. And that helps the condominium owners, because it's their funds. So it does work. I mean, just the mere fact that I will be saving close to $6,000 a year, in electrical costs, is just absolutely phenomenal.
Can I have a follow-up question to yours? I take it a vast majority of customers, residents are on the basic?
Correct.
So why does it go to the default when most people are going to be on the basic?
The decision was made to go with the slightly higher renewable energy component, because I think everybody is becoming much more aware that renewable energy is going to help save the planet down the road a piece. I mean, it won't just be renewable energy. There'll be a lot of other types of energy at play that will help us get to where we need to be. But for sure, renewable is part of it. And I think the town just wanted to contribute. And based on feedback they were getting from residents and people that they were talking to, they felt that there was an appetite for it. But we're all ears. I mean, as we go through this contract, I know Sean and I are very interested in what our residents think and feel about this. And
Is this the first time it's changing to the default, or is it?
yes,
Yes.
we've always had the lowest.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay.
Right.
So it's a feel-good thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think that,
They're doing the right thing.
yeah.
Energy-wise.
Renewable energy is more expensive. And, if you look at the mix, if you look at the grid, we had an opportunity to do that this week because we hit a peak. I tend to watch those things because, not to get too complicated, but the town buys electricity and natural gas from suppliers, third-party suppliers, for our own accounts, for the school's accounts. And part of that is on very, very hot days, we could set a peak that would potentially drive those prices a little higher for us. So we watch that carefully, and on those days where we could be potentially setting a peak, we dial down things. So if we have an auditorium that's not populated, we'll dial down those fans, we'll dial down the temperatures so that we can control our peak. So without getting too complicated, that day we looked at the grid, we looked at the mix, because I was staying on top of what was going on. I didn't want us to be caught by surprise if there was a problem.
The problem that I see, and I'm not saying, not problems that have, but you're asking now people are going to pay a nickel more, which is a big jump. Now you're going to present to them to pay even more because we think that, which I happen to agree with, renewable is a better idea. So it's really not a great time to introduce that because people are going to get hit for 50% more as it is. Is there a way that we can explain what the average bill would be if they're on one versus the other? And look what you're doing for the planet for an extra $300 a year on
I
average.
think our consultant can come up with something like that, and we can send that out.
I know, I'd like to see that.
Or put it on the website.
I mean, the biggest...
In the letter.
Yeah, the biggest thing, though, is because we're going from such a phenomenal rate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're going to be basically roughly 10 cents less than Eversource. So the hike is actually 1/3 of what Eversource wanted, you know, or getting. And even then, Eversource is, if I'm not mistaken, they're going before the DPU, I believe in what, September, October, for new rates in January. So who knows what those rates are going to be.
And these change, don't forget, they change every 3 months.
Right, right.
So, or every
We're
6
locking
months
in-
for
and we're-
residential,
we're
every
locked-
3 months for commercial.
We need to explain to the residents that we will be locked in
Yes.
at that number, whichever they want, the default or the optional. They can always go back to what they had originally.
Right.
But at this point, they really need to know
I
that.
mean, it's a
Well,
two-year,
this is-
it's a two-year locked rate.
This will be, this is a decision that they'll be, that
I
they'll be
would-
in the default. However, you have an opportunity to drop it down and go back and lower your cost if you want.
And-
If we present the default as the first option, then we as a select board are saying, we're in favor of that because.
Yeah, because when
but-
you look at the mix, it's natural gas, it's coal.
No, I understand,
It's,
but
you know, like, it's things that we
if that's
don't
the
really
case-
want to put in there.
if that's the case, I for one would like to explanation to our residents as to why we did it. And for a few $100 average, we think we should do that, and we voted that way. And if we don't vote that way, fine, but if we do.
Right.
I don't think it's not a great time to do this when you go up a nickel, but that's the breaks, that's the way things are. So I think an additional help on that letter to them would be very helpful, because I assume that also they're going to be getting letters from all kinds of people, they're more confused than ever because they're going to get hustled
Right.
because they know that the renewable's coming up. All the more reason why a personal letter from the select board, I think, would be, or whomever, would be a good idea.
And put it on our website.
Our consultants are working on that because we do have some time here,
We get a letter to each household.
like 6 months before we have to, or at least 3 months before we have to send things out.
In the text.
And we will, I have seen some drafts of comparisons of what your bill would look like and how much we're really asking. But again, they can opt out to the cheaper price.
Right.
And if I can, so one thing to consider too is this is an aggregation program with 22 or 25 different communities. So all the communities get together to contract with the vendor on this, and a lot of times too, the default product changes because the vendor says, well, we'll give you a better rate. It's higher than our previous rate, but we'll give you a better rate than we can, but we're going to change the default product to this. So these are all things that are considered, so it still gives the residents the option to opt out to save 0.4 of a cent per kilowatt hour, but it also allows those who want to invest in renewable energy to do that at a modest.
As long as it's a clear choice.
Yeah, the town,
It's
we
hard to
don't have that
understand.
decision individually to say, well, we want this or that. It's an aggregation program, so all the communities get together.
And they've opted for that, for the default? Okay, so
And
that's
isn't-
another
And
explanation.
isn't this aggregation program one of the larger purchases of electricity in New England?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like 21 towns, and I think that we've held fast. Sean and I have held fast here on that bottom line number for many years, even though we've been getting a lot of heat for it, not so to speak.
So it's almost like the 22 towns and your select board are supporting the default for X, Y, Z reasons. And I think people would be very pleased to hear that. And then they can make a choice after that.
Right.
I
Great.
mean, because, I mean, even if you look at the new rates, I mean, they're considerably much better than what Eversource is charging. You know, or I mean, it's phenomenal how Eversource almost just went up, 300%, of the rates that everybody was getting. I mean,
And that's not the top end yet.
Right.
I mean,
No,
it
it's
could
not.
get worse,
it's not, and I mean, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the pricing does concern me on an overall basis, as somebody who sits on this, making sure that, our residents have the opportunity to get, their bang for the buck. On a personal note, it really doesn't affect me too much because I got solar. So, I mean, the only thing that eats is not so much that, it's the delivery. So, personally, if I can go with the default, it's not going to affect me all that much, especially in the summertime. January, February, yeah, it'll affect me a little bit. But
What we're saying here is we're supporting that renewable market.
right,
We're, as a community, going to say, okay, it's not a whole penny, but we're going to give you a partial of a penny. in support of that offshore wind, the solar, the other renewable potential. Because when you look at the mix, the entire renewable percentage that is making up the New England Power Pool grid is less than 10%.
Correct.
And
And we're not talking about a lot more money when you put in the dollars and cents.
It's a half a penny, it's
I
less
think-
than half a penny.
I think the
year,
comparison
but-
should be in that letter, what could be if you were to buy your power from Eversource.
Do we,
And that'll be a big sell.
do we know of the 22 communities, the percentage who are on the program versus off?
Everybody's on it.
We're all on it.
We're all on it.
No, but
No, every,
No, no, I
oh,
mean the
you
whole-
mean of each community?
paying Eversource, the percentage, getting out of this program.
Those that opt out and
Yes.
do whatever.
Oh, very
I mean,
few.
we don't, that'd be a good question, but I
I
tell you
mean,
it's
do you have
minimal.
a feel for it all?
Very few.
Very few, okay, great.
Yeah, especially at those rates.
No kidding. Yeah.
So when you look at this and it says under the default, the total renewable 69% in '23, 72, does it further explain the solar impact and the wind impact as far as renewables go?
They're grouped into a class of renewables that are all considered the same mix for the purposes of the aggregation. So you can't really break that out.
Do we need to vote on this?
No, Kathy's just giving an update, but, and just one item to add, by way of reference, with the last contract, when it was the 10 cents, at the time, that 10 cent per kilowatt hour was closer to the Eversource's actual rate. So it was lower, and there was some concern that, will it maintain lower? Now, we're starting at a much lower rate than the Eversource rate
Yeah,
to begin
well,
with.
that was
so-
at the start, that was at the start, but the last year of the contract, Eversource was much
Went a lot
higher.
higher, so I mean, we would anticipate that it would be pretty similar here too. I don't think Eversource's rate is gonna go down much. And
No, the way I don't do it exactly like, our energy manager does, but, I'm always looking at this stuff. I foresee Eversource by the end of this term, around 40 cents a kilowatt.
Well, I think one way to look at this, and I think this was one of the reasons why both Sean and I felt like it was a good idea to agree with this contract, is because we're participating in an aggregation with 21 different cities and towns. When we go to market, we do way better than a town on their own.
Correct.
We could have said to Good, no, we want our basic optional product and that's it. We're going to peel ourselves off and we're going to go out to bid on our own. We could have done that, but then we give up our buying power. So would we have gotten even 16 cents as our basic optional price if we had done that? No. It would have been more like 17. So by agreeing with the group, we were able to save money because we had the buying power of the group.
And most of the group is Bristol County, correct?
Oh, I think they're
For
all
the-
over the
Well,
map.
they're all over the place, but a majority of it is Bristol County,
No.
except for
I don't think
Taunton.
so, no.
Except for Taunton.
Remember all the towns, but-
Taunton has their own.
Have,
It's all
So
over.
this
all
contract,
over.
There is
It's a lot of Bristol
Westport.
County, yes,
There
but-
is Westport,
Yep,
there is New
Westport.
Bedford is in on it,
Yep.
because I have properties there.
Yep.
So
I
they're
know
all on it.
Fairhaven is on it, I know, is Carver, what am I thinking?
Maybe-
Carver, there's a
maybe
lot, there's a
Carver, yeah.
lot of towns, there's 21 different.
I know Mansfield is on it,
Yep.
Easton is on it, so.
So, it looks like we're leaving money on the table, but really, in order to do that, we would have had to have peeled out of the group.
Okay.
and this contract's till 2025, correct? We're talking about?
Yeah.
2025.
Yep.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? We don't have to vote on
I'm
this?
just wondering about the people at home, if they're saying, I wonder what I'm in. If you are getting your electricity through Eversource, your bill comes in and it says Eversource. If you're getting your bill through this aggregate, your bill comes in,
It's
You
still
are
coming through
always
Eversource.
getting your
It's the
bill
same
from
bill.
Eversource.
Right.
but the code that it says on your bill, if you're enrolled in this program, is Dartmouth
You
CEA.
go to the line item that says supplier. And under that supplier line item, you will see Community Aggregation Dartmouth. And the supplier will be Constellation.
Right. If you don't see that and you want to change it.
You can go to the website, you can look up the contact information, or you can just call me.
Yep. And it generally
Anyone
takes
at
about
home
30 days.
panicking
billing
because they
cycle.
get an Eversource bill, everybody gets an Eversource
Everybody gets an
bill.
Eversource bill. Everybody will always.
You
get
have
an
to look
Eversource
at that supplier line.
bill. That's right.
Well, I think we'd end this by saying that in conversations over the past year that I've had with Sean, he's spoken, I can see why, he spoke very highly of what you've done for the town. The arrangement's been great. Well, thank you.
Great, thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for trying to bring all this information down to a layman, because
Another couple of
when I
presentations, we'll really get it.
flip the switch, electricity comes on, it's magic. So,
Okay,
It was my pleasure, and I look forward to coming back.
thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Thanks for taking all the calls.
Do I need to do anything?
No, Peter will take care of that.
Okay. Okay, time to move on. Megan's Organics Marijuana Host Community Agreement. Mr. McGinnis.
Yes, so we have been working with Megan's Organic Marijuana, retail marijuana representatives for the past year. The previous assistant town administrator was doing a lot of the work, and since with his departure, there was some transition. So Megan's has been very patient in waiting to come forward. But we've gone through the general process we go through with all of our retail marijuana facilities. Megan's has shown to be a very professional, organized operation. We've reviewed it with our internal team, and we've vetted them, and we're here tonight to present them to the board, and they're going to give an overview of their operations, but we're making the recommendation that the town enter into a host community agreement with Megan's.
Thank you very much. For the record, Attorney Christopher Alphen with Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein. With me from Megan Organics is Nick and Becky. They can give you an overview of the project through a PowerPoint if it so pleases the board. But one thing is that the board requested that we get all our local approval before we came before you with the host community agreement, and we've obtained all local approval, specifically planning board site plan approval and special permit, as well as having our local outreach meeting as well. So if the board would like, we're happy to either take questions or do a short PowerPoint presentation, whatever pleases the board.
And where is the location again, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's in Fonts Corner development, that's Ken Steen's development over there in Fonts Corner.
Okay.
It is, for those of you specifically, off of Fonts Corner where the state police barracks is. There's a small office building just over the tracks to the right of that. Well, there is a driveway to the right of the office building that goes to a parcel in the back of that.
Correct,
that is
yeah.
developable.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
How long a
but not in the
presentation?
overlay district.
It is.
It is, yeah.
It is.
A short
Only if
presentation?
you'd like a presentation, it's up to the board.
Pleasure here?
Yeah, let's have
Yes.
that.
Okay. Get the dog and ponies out, let's go.
Time's up.
Just introduce myself
Yes.
really quick. Thank you.
Right in
My
the
name is
microphone, please.
Rebecca Levesque.
You can pull it down.
There you go.
My name is Rebecca Levesque. I have been born and raised in New Bedford, but have been in this town in Dartmouth my entire life. My whole family is from here. So I've grew up here and have shopped and ate here my entire life. I went to UMass Amherst and graduated with a journalism and legal studies degree. Came back to the area because I wanted to raise my family here. So I have 2 kids. I live currently in Freetown. But of course, come to Dartmouth for all of the shopping and dining that I need, and my family is all still here as well, going to St. Julie's Church every Sunday. After college, I started in a marketing career, worked for WFHN and WBSM out of Fairhaven, so I had the opportunity to work with lots of local Dartmouth businesses in and around Dartmouth and New Bedford, representing them and handling their marketing, and from that started an ad agency where I continued to represent those companies. So I did that for about 20 years, and now I'm actually the head of marketing for a national investment bank for 5 years now. And I have a great success in helping marketing and business development, and I wanted to take what I've learned and apply it to a cannabis retail location here because it's also a very important initiative of mine. I do believe in the medical benefits of cannabis. I have seen it firsthand with my family, my elderly father, who was a bit shy about trying it at first, but actually now it really helps him out. He's in a great deal of pain, so it really helps him. And I want to be able to bring that to the town, as well as all the resources and revenue and support and jobs that this operation will bring.
In addition to myself, there are a couple other owners that aren't present today. Ken Steen, who is the project developer, is also a Dartmouth resident for a long time and business owner here. Carol Botello and Claudette Issa are two retired sisters also living in Dartmouth, very heavily involved in the community. They are going to serve as our community relations managers as well, and community outreach. And then we have Lori DeRojas, who is also a longtime Dartmouth resident, raised her two kids here as well, both graduated from the school system, and she's been heavily involved in the local sports and community activities here as well. So all of us together are really excited about this opportunity to continue to live and work here. And with that, I'm going to introduce Nick Andre, the COO, to give you the update and information on the program itself.
Thank you, Becky. So my name's Nick Andre. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Megan's Organic Market. I'm originally from Bristol, Rhode Island. Most of my family actually lives here on the south coast of Massachusetts. After college, I went to URI, actually took a few classes at UMass Dartmouth, and then after college moved to California, where I became involved in the cannabis industry and eventually landed the job I'm at now. I'm really excited about this project because it's going to bring a great company I've been working with for a number of years here to the East Coast and to, where I call home. So Megan's Organic Market is a parent company, is 100% women-owned. As Becky said, Ken has a small stake in this one, so this one will actually be 95% women-owned. But a majority women-owned company with a female CEO, which is a rare situation in the cannabis industry overall throughout the nation. It started when Megan realized that in California, back when it was medical only, the experience was really poor for people. If you were a medical patient, some guy with a duffel bag would show up at your door, come in your house, and throw some stuff on a coffee table, and it would be an extremely intimidating experience. And so her entire business model was surrounded by, let's make this more approachable, more wholesome, more normal. And so she hired an all-female delivery staff. They showed up with picnic baskets and uniforms that had aprons, everything prepackaged, not making a mess on your coffee table. It just created an experience that was much better for people and much more approachable. And so this has actually lived on as we've built out our retail storefronts, and that same ethic and that same set of values makes its way here. As you can see on the screen, this is one of the outside of one of our stores. You'd never know it was a cannabis dispensary. Red and white awnings, very tasteful, very high-end. It's like a high-end market. We kind of compare ourselves to, like the Trader Joe's of cannabis. It's kind of what we've been compared to before. There's a short video here. I'll skip over it. I'll send it to you all in an email. But this is a look at the inside of the building. So in California, you're actually allowed to display product out on the floor like a normal store. In Massachusetts, unfortunately, we're not allowed to do that. But we're still going to set the store up like this because that's part of the approachability and a part of making it feel like a normal retail experience. So these products in Massachusetts will be dummy packaging. There won't actually be cannabis inside them, but it will still allow you to pick up the box, read the labels, learn about information, and be helped by a customer service representative that will be roaming the floor. Then you take your stuff, put it in a basket, you get to the front registers, and then someone will swap it out with packaging that actually contains the cannabis itself. We're really proud that we pay our employees a very good living wage. Our average entry-level employees are making about $26 per hour, and this is part of our success. If our employees are dedicated to the company, it gives a better experience to our customers and makes us more successful at business and a better community steward as well. So we pay everybody well, we hire local. In the host community agreement, I believe, and in our original application, we committed to 50% or more local hire, and we always try to get as high as we can, as close to 100, depending on the hiring market that's out there. We have programs that promote from within and promote women in leadership as well. And we're proud to be one of the best-in-class operators in the country for cannabis. We've won Best Cannabis Dispensary 3 years in a row. When we first started our storefronts in California, won Best New Business of that year across all industries, and Best Place to Buy CBD. We also have a stellar compliance record. You can see a letter there on the screen from one of our municipalities we operate in that is commending us for being a role model in the state of California's cannabis process. So over time, we're based in California originally. You can see on the map, most of the stores are in Southern California, but we've begun expanding to the East Coast. That has happened in Massachusetts and in New Jersey. So we actually have another project in Rochester, and so this will be our second one, although we were hoping it would be the first, and it might still be. So we'll work with the timelines that kind of come our way. But these are the two other states that we're moving into, and really excited about that East Coast development for us. Part of the ethics and the values of the company is that we participate greatly in the communities that we operate within. So you can see some photos on the screen here of us participating in creek cleanups. We sponsor Adopt a Highway. We sponsor events like charity golf tournaments, things like that. And we'd be doing all those same things here in the town of Dartmouth. So specifically here with the host community agreement, we have 3% of the gross sales being paid quarterly to the town. We're going to register all motor vehicles, although realistically we don't really use motor vehicles in the retail scenario, but if we do, we would register them here to make sure you get the excise tax. There would be an annual community benefit gift of $50,000 for each year that would be used for the town of Dartmouth, Parks and Recreation, Board of Health, Youth Commission, and the Police Department. And we would make our own charitable and nonprofit contributions and participate in those organizations as well. We won't seek any nonprofit designation to try to avoid property taxes or anything like that. And we're always going to be in coordination with the town's police department. We really value that we have really great relationships with the police departments and everywhere we operate. And as I mentioned before, local hiring, of course. So the proposed location is just on Fons Corner Road, just north of 195. And it is right behind or right near the state police station, and behind, it's kind of close to UMass School of Law. And you can see on the maps right here, you can see the entryway where the driveway is, and you can see the parcel. It's kind of like an L parcel, so the building is actually set back a little bit, and there's a little bit of a driveway there. And it is within the marijuana overlay district that was established back in 2018. And so here's a little bit better of a view of the site plan itself. This was approved unanimously through the planning board. And so the site, it's a freestanding building on the site, 3,000 square feet approximately, with 26 parking spaces. And there will actually be, as part of the larger development, a larger warehouse down the road a little bit in the back. But this will be really the only accessible area for the public. And it meets all the buffer requirements that are set in the various different ordinances and the state requirements. And it will also include a secure delivery bay to make sure that when vendors deliver product, it's done out of sight. This is a conceptual rendering of the space. So we're trying to keep some New England style architecture in there, paired with the classic red and white awnings of the Megan's and the Megan sign. You'll notice that in our official logo on the top right, we do have a leaf in it, but whenever we put exterior signage in the building, we omit the leaf because we're trying to make sure that nobody actually knows, no children going by or anything like that will notice that it's cannabis. We have also hired Sapphire Risk Advisory Group to develop the security plan, which was submitted with our application. They're one of the top security consultants in the nation with regards to cannabis. Some of the basics are just that we'll have safes or vaults for cash and for product. It's no longer just a cash business. We actually receive more than half of our revenue through debit cards at this point. And we get a cash pickup service once a week, just like a grocery store or any other business. So the amount of cash that's on site at any one point is actually really low now. But nonetheless, anything that's there will always be stored in a safe. We have alarmed windows and doors, of course, 24-hour video surveillance. These cameras are really advanced. They have all kinds of different recognition features, kind of similar to what you heard earlier from the Flock presentation. There's like, you can identify people's shirt colors and facial, things like that. We also will have panic buttons, so like a bank, if something were to go wrong, there's a little button underneath the desk that they can push to alert the police. Thankfully, we've never had an incident where that's needed to occur, but they're there just in case. And then we have overnight security barriers. So these are like on the inside of a window. It's kind of like a garage door that kind of comes down over the window. So if someone were to try to break in and break through a window at night, they actually wouldn't be able to get in the building because it has that metal barrier. We also will have the presence of security guards whenever there will be operating, or actually whenever there's any employee on site and or customer on site, there will be a security guard on site as well. This is a conceptual, not the exact floor plan we're going to use, but this is just a conceptual one for you to kind of get the idea of how we operate and prevent youth access. So when you enter through the front door, there is a lobby. The lobby contains a receptionist, and it kind of has that sort of hotel feel. You'll go up, give your ID, they'll verify that you're eligible to enter the facility. You'll then be buzzed through a locked set of doors, and you'll enter the retail facility where you're able to browse around, as I explained earlier, grab your products, and then get in that queue line, go to the front, and then the customer service representatives would fulfill your order, and you can see where it says fulfillment. There's actually a vault in the back there where we have people that fulfill the orders and then slip them through a window to the people in the front, and then you get your product at the register, pay, and then you're able to leave. You'll notice there's an intake room. So this intake room is directly in the delivery bay I explained earlier. Truck comes in, we close the delivery bay, we can intake product in a private room out of sight, and then when the truck is in the delivery bay, it can't be seen by customers as well. And then that product is verified that it meets all the compliance requirements from a licensed vendor, that the labels are correct, the child-proof packaging is correct, and then once we make those verifications, that product is then taken into the vault and available for sale. We also, of course, have an office and a break room and a bathroom as well. Some of the other aspects of the project are we have odor control, so there will be carbon filtration, so there'll be no detectable odor outside of the facility. The lobby creates negative pressure as well, so when someone opens the door, the air sucks in, so that even if something weren't to be caught by the HVAC system, nothing really emanates outside of the building. This has actually created air that's 90% cleaner than the outside air when you look at the studies that are done on these HVAC systems. And we make sure that we have regular training and maintenance, that they're always in working order. We're also a green certified business in California. We'll get the equivalent here in Massachusetts. So we always integrate electric vehicle chargers, bike storage, always using LED lighting, low flow fixtures, things like that. It's just part of the ethos of the company. We'll obviously sign up for the 100% renewable energy that was discussed earlier. And one of the other things we do is we don't carry disposable vapes. So disposable vapes are actually a really popular product category, and we don't carry them because there's actually no way to dispose of them properly. They're considered e-waste because they have a battery in them, and they're just single-use type products. And so they end up in a landfill, and no recycler would take them because of the federal issue with cannabis oil, essentially. And so until that's resolved, we've committed to not carrying those, even though it's not necessarily the best economic decision. We also have a great nuisance mitigation plan. So as Becky mentioned, we have community relations manager that will always be accessible, a place for residents to submit complaints or suggestions through online or phone calls, text messaging, et cetera. We're always going to be holding periodic community meetings. Typically we do that quarterly, invite people to come into the store, have a tour. Those folks that don't feel comfortable coming to purchase, they can kind of get an insight into what goes on in the business by attending one of those. Our security guards are always trained on noise prevention. We have dark sky compliant lighting to make sure we're not giving off any nuisance lighting, and plenty of signage warning people about the laws. We strive to have a positive impact on the neighborhood in general. So like I mentioned earlier, high design standards. We have great maintenance on our buildings. We participate in neighborhood cleanups to be a good community steward and have a constant presence in the community. And we build relationships with our local businesses, often do cross promotions between businesses, and try to lift up the folks around us. And so that concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions and look forward to hopefully opening in Dartmouth.
Questions? Ms. Brooks?
I have a question. Megan's appears to be I would assume like a chain of
Franchise, right?
a franchise.
Well, so we have a parent company that owns all of the locations, so it's not a franchise business.
Okay.
But we often do bring in local partners at each of our local stores, which is why we have
Rebecca,
several.
Ken, Carol,
Exactly.
Maureen,
Yeah.
local partners.
So our parent company owns a portion of the store, and then our local partners own the other portion.
Does that mean that the products sold will be Megan Organic Markets products?
We do, yeah, so we do have our own brand lines. We have 3 brand lines that we carry. We wouldn't be able to sell those in Massachusetts until we establish a manufacturing relationship here, because you can't ship product across state lines.
Okay.
However, in our stores, we carry between 800 and 1,100 different SKUs. And our products only account for about 6 to 10% of that. So we are carrying pretty much all of the major brands that are in each market that we operate in. So it's not just our stuff.
Okay. And is Megan's sensitive to the issues of edibles that look like children's candy, which is becoming more and more of an issue?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, edibles are really popular, especially for sleep. There's a lot of sleep edibles out there. So we only carry everything that meets the strict compliance regulations, that are child-proof, that are not attractive to children on the labeling. And we often, what we call mom standards, we have standards that are higher than the state standards. And our checklists are like, okay, well, it meets the compliance regulations for the state. Then we have a whole separate set of sort of value-based mom standards. If it doesn't meet those, we don't go forward with it.
Nice. And you have CBD products, but also THC products?
Both, that's correct.
Okay.
Over here.
Yeah, I've got one question. What about the grow facilities? Where are you buying the product?
So we don't do any cultivation ourselves. We purchase from other licensed vendors. And so because we can't ship across state lines or do any interstate commerce, everyone we purchase from will be cultivators and manufacturers here in the state of Massachusetts.
Mr. Gracie? No? Sean? I've got a question.
No, actually,
You have it?
no. I don't have it.
Our town, our state in New England, and I guess the whole country, the availability of retail space is growing quickly.
Correct, yeah.
Your projections as to what that means to the business here in town and versus your ability to compete and see how it's going. What can you say about that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So what we've seen, we see this in every state actually, and California has been really challenging as well. There's a big rush when it's new, right? Everybody rushes in. And they're typically, what happens is there's too much production to meet the demand that exists from a number of standpoints. One, just from organic demand from people who want to consume the product from the legal market, but also from towns that allow it. Oftentimes, not everyone does, and so it reduces the amount of available places to sell your product if you're producing it. So what happens is you get to a point where there's overproduction, prices come way, way down. That's good for the consumer because the price comes down, and it's actually good for legal operators because it puts some black market operators out of business. But then there's a rebalancing that happens. And some people go out of business when they're cultivating and they have maybe not made great economic or business decisions because they made it with, you know, the dollar signs in their eyes instead of with the practicality of the long-term business and viability of it. We're proud that we're making long-term business decisions for a long-term viable business. And so what ends up happening is you just have sort of a rebalancing. The folks that are operating efficiently, operating well, and made good, smart decisions survive. The other ones don't. And then you sort of have a plateau that happens. And we've seen this in California. We've kind of hit the plateau and actually has come up a little bit. Massachusetts hasn't quite hit that yet, but it's getting close.
And I take it at this point in time, the black market is keeping prices down?
Yeah, it's really challenging. I can't speak for Massachusetts specifically, but in California, the black market still accounts for the majority of cannabis sales within the state. And it's very hard to compete with people who aren't paying their taxes and who aren't doing good community work. And, you know, but
I come from an industry where in the 70s and 80s, there was one store and then there was 100.
Yeah.
And then they were back to 10.
Yeah.
And it was exactly as you described.
Yeah.
My biggest concern with all of this is that while Massachusetts has allowed marijuana to become legal, when you purchase it illegally, you have no idea what you're getting.
Correct. That's the problem.
And that's the biggest issue where people are having, it cut with other stuff and therefore having issues. That the only way to say that I'm using marijuana is to buy it through a facility that monitors and manages that. Then you know the product that you're getting.
Absolutely.
When you're buying it on the street and it's cut with fentanyl or cut with xylazine or cut with anything else, you're playing Russian roulette.
Yeah.
I also look at this as being, a market saturation. And we have options in Dartmouth to shop at Stop and Shop, Aldi's. We can go Shaw's. We can go across town lines and go to Market Basket. We can even leave, go way out and go to Trader Joe's. So the fact that we have multiple opportunities for people to buy at Megan Organic Market or Solar or whatever other establishment we have just is commerce.
Yeah.
And gives people an opportunity to purchase where they're most comfortable.
Correct, and it promotes the legal market and turns people away from that black market. If people don't have the ability to buy it legally in a convenient way, they often turn to the black market, and that's when you get those health risks and those real dangers. So.
That's my concern.
Do any of the owners have any financial or managerial involvement with other retailers in town?
I believe, might have had
Yes,
something to do with the real estate on solar. I'm
Right.
not
Yeah,
entirely
that was
sure.
a Steen project.
But yeah, no one else though. Yeah.
Okay.
No, he owns the property down the,
No, we don't know, we
Yeah.
don't know that.
yeah.
Property or part of the business.
Yeah, I don't know if he's part of the organization. but-
I have no knowledge of that. I don't know.
So you've got you've got a lease agreement with Rochester? No?
Yeah, we have a project in Rochester as well.
What else? Where else?
That's it for Massachusetts. Yeah, and then we also have one in New Jersey, and we have some in California that I showed the map of earlier.
Right, I can see
I
that.
would make a quick suggestion that we have a lot of projects ongoing, finished, or not even dreams. And I think that maybe it's time that we get it's kind of recap some meeting down the road of where we stand with the other projects. Because I think we'd all like to know.
Yeah, we
including
have the one
now
on
we
Route
know
6.
yours. Yeah, there's whatever.
It's an unknown.
Whatever project exists, where do they stand and what's the status?
Yeah.
I know
So
you get the state
where we-
involved and all kinds of rules, right?
Yeah, so where we go from here is
Yep.
if we can get the host community agreement approved, we'll be able to approach the state licensing board, the CCC, apply for licensure there, and then proceed with construction permits and construction documents for the site construction, and that'll get us, moving
You know how
forward.
it works.
Yep. Okay. We need a vote for this?
You need a motion and then to enter into the.
Anybody
host
have
community
anything they want to say before we consider a motion or a vote?
I'll make a motion that we enter into a host.
he is, John.
I'll make them, as long as he hears me.
I can't hear.
Lean this way. Make a motion that we enter into a host community agreement with Moms Dartmouth LLC for their location on Fons Corner Road, at 265 Fons Corner Road.
I'll second that.
Between 299 and 265 Fons Corner Road, whatever,
A number to be determined later.
to be determined by the post office.
We have a second to that motion?
I'll second
I'll
that.
second that.
Okay. Any questions or discussion before we vote?
See if Frank has something to say.
Frank, I'm looking at Frank. No?
Frank?
Okay,
No, I seconded the motion. I'm good.
okay, thank you. Okay, we are ready to vote? Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, it's 5-0.
Thank you very much.
First step. Nice presentation, thank you. Okay, sorry to all keep you waiting all this time, but, okay. Keep going. Library trustee vacancy appointment. We have I see the chair out there, you want to come forward? Mr.
Stan.
Stanley?
As you all know, previously, you agreed with the recommendation of the trustees that we stay with 6 members and that we enter the process of replacing by appointment the trustee who found it necessary to resign at the beginning of the year.
It's ridiculous.
We worked with Mr. McInnes and Amy from your office. They were both extremely helpful.
This one.
And at our last meeting,
Signing on Frank.
we picked 2 out of 4 of the people who submitted letters of interest in the position that we thought you should consider. And the 2 were Linda Garibaldi and Maya Wolfson. Linda is here this evening. If you have questions you want to ask her. I don't see Maya here. I don't know if she was unable to make it, but that's about it. I had specifically asked Sean how many names we should submit, and he figured we should give you at least 2. And that's what we've done, and now it's your decision.
Would you like to come forward, Linda? Okay with everybody? Right into the mic.
Good evening. Okay. Is that better?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Hi. I'm Linda Garibaldi. I have met some of you over the years. I submitted a letter of interest, which I hope you had a chance to read at some point. I certainly am a great supporter of our libraries and have worked with them for a long time as a volunteer in different ways and through the Friends also of our libraries. I'm pleased to help if I possibly can. I'm hoping that there's use for me as a trustee. I want to see our libraries continue and expand and grow. I'm very pleased with the new director that we have hired and excited about her. I think is a great choice, and I want to see our libraries continue to offer full everything to everyone. I love it when I walk into the library and see always our adult computers used, see people reading in the back newspapers and magazines and walking around, and of course the children's library, of course. And I love our new library up in the North Library. So I really don't know what else to say to you besides what I'd already said before. Anyway, that's
Anybody have any
sort of
questions?
who I
for
am.
It's lovely. Thank you for your offer.
Thank you. Well-written letter, too.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, and the Maya is not here. We did get her letter as well.
I also received a couple of emails in support of both candidates.
Yes.
I myself have served on the library director hiring committee with Linda, and have also, during the course of the building of the North Branch, had many interactions with the Friends of the library, which Mrs. Garibaldi is a member of and very active. And to me, she is a treasure, and I would like to move her name forward to be the appointed to the vacancy on the Library Board of Trustees.
And I would
Motion.
gladly
That's my
second that.
motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Comments? I would only say that Maya is a fantastic candidate as well, but Linda is, it's a natural
Has
for
an
us because she's had
experience
the
with our
experience. We hope and pray
library.
that Maya will either step forward for that, another position, or down the road, because we really appreciate her participation, and no knock on her, but Linda's got the experience in the times. That's my comment, but.
My one question
Yes.
in that motion is, this is William Chandler's position, so does Mrs. Garibaldi fill the remainder of his position?
Only up until April. She has to run for
And
the
she'll run
remainder of the term.
Okay, so April 2024, his position expires?
She's filling the unexpired year of the term.
Okay.
And then come April 2024, she would need to be a candidate for election for the remaining of the term.
Thank you.
Okay.
Got those signs.
history and civics, I guess.
Any other comments or questions before we vote? Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, unanimous 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Maya, hang in there with us. We come back to
Join the
We'll find a
friends.
spot for you.
Join the friends, yeah.
Ask them to verify
Yeah.
my number.
What's that?
No,
Okay.
we're conniving over here.
Is that legal?
Year-end budget transfers.
Year-end budget transfers. Mr. McDinnis.
Our
Move it
finance director,
Oh.
Gary Carrera, is here.
What is?
Sorry.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate you waiting. Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. So, as you know, at the end of the fiscal year, we request some line item transfers that need to be accomplished to balance budgets in certain departments. Before you are a series of some. I can go over them quickly if you'd like, before you sign them. They've been approved by the Finance Committee, and I can just briefly go through them. So I'll start with the first one that we have. It's $1,000. It's coming from. It's for the advertising expense for, as you know, the personnel department put on a fair this year, and additional items that they needed, additional monies for postage, which was a success. So we look at it as a win-win for the town. That's an additional $1,000, and they're all coming out of what we call the ban account, which we had additional funds in this year to make payments for the to complete these transfers. The second one is $1,300. This is for the postage for actually the postage for the human resources. The $1,000 was for the advertising, so it's still all for the same department. The next one is $70,000. This was for an amount increase in legal due to Bliss Corner and contract negotiations that needed to be settled. And again, that's coming from the pay down of ban account.
For what is it in Bliss Corner?
It was to address the legal issues with Bliss Corner. So what we budgeted in the budget wasn't sufficient enough in the legal line item.
It's for that new parking garage.
We had to ask for additional funds to supplement for the legal budget this year,
Beats me.
along with contract negotiations. The next one is for $34,660. This was for the salary for the, in addition to some clerical salary in the Human Resources Department. As you know, when the prior Human Resource Director left, we then had to hire a new Human Resource Director at a different amount and scale. So this is the increase to that line item, coming from the pay down of ban account. The next one is for $28,338.22. This is for a retirement contribution for Chad Pimentel, who is an active duty reservist in the military. What this does is it completes his pension obligation that the town does. This is a rare occasion. Usually when we have active reservists, we do this. This is part of the cost of us the pension system.
Right.
$28,338.22. The next one is for $15,000 even. This is for MIS, also coming from the pay down and ban account. As you know, the town implemented a few software changes in fiscal 23. So in the budget that the IS director had given us in fiscal 23, it was short by $15,000 for us to implement those services. Also peripheral equipment that he had to purchase in the office. So this supplements the budget, again, coming out of the ban account.
You can stop any time, Gary.
The last one. This is the last one. The last one is for, and this is a big one. It's for $81,523.60. This is for Bristol Aggie for a part of our assessment. When fiscal 23's budget was prepared, the assessment hadn't been received yet by the county, by the school. So this is to make the appropriation whole, again, coming out of the ban account. So this is an obligation that the town has to the school.
We don't pay enough. We got to pay more now.
What was that?
We don't pay enough for that.
We
have to
send
pay
like
more now.
1,200 kids there, I think. Okay.
Oh,
Questions?
meanwhile, it's a great school.
Yes, it is.
Gary, I just want to
Magnificent.
mention that in looking at the paperwork, that you worked very hard to become the actual and not the interim, but there were some forms that did still say interim, so make sure somebody whites that out.
Yeah, and there was some.
The warrant.
Yeah,
warrants.
I had just spoke to our town accountant today. She's changing that.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, get your name
But all approved.
Okay, we want to talk about this as an aggregate? Any individual ones, or
I
what's
had no questions.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, then therefore we need a motion.
Motion to approve all transfers as presented.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Time to vote. Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, as usual. Next would be Broadband Commission appointment, Sarah Lamoth.
Yes, she is not present, but she had submitted her letter of interest for the board to review.
Yeah, what a letter.
Extensive experience in
Oh,
this
boy.
area.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Before she changes
I
her
will
mind.
second that.
Are you going to second in the motion? Or are you doing both? Okay.
No,
Okay. I thought you
Stan
did both there.
made the
Okay.
motion, I seconded.
Any comments or questions on this appointment?
Magnificent.
Let's vote. Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, 5-0. Thank you very much for volunteering. We sure can use you. Next would be Waterways Commission resignation. We all got the letter that Mr. Hickey, he resigned as of late June. I asked Mr. Hickey if we come back at a better time towards the end of the season when he's available, because we'd like to be able to honor him and give him the due that he deserves. Between his status at the middle school, Mr. Hickey, the principal, assistant principal, was it?
And principal.
And principal, all the way to the last of Waterways. I'm going to guess 40 years?
40 years, yeah. And
So-
as a boater,
Yep.
he has been, a critical member of the Waterways Committee. So it'll be nice to
Thank you.
thank him for his services in
And
person.
he sent us a gracious letter, and he wishes the committee well, and we'll contact Jerry and get him back at a time that's good for him. Thank you for your service, but we'll see you again later.
Yep.
Okay? Next, Veterans Advisory Board appointment, Kevin Wachurski.
Come on up, Kevin.
Here's the most patient man in the building.
Yes.
You're going to get a raise.
You want to introduce yourself and tell us about yourself, Kevin?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Kevin Wachurski. I grew up here in Dartmouth, and for the past 10 years, I've been out in San Diego. I served in Naval Special Warfare as a special boat operator, also known as a SWIC. We're U.S. SOCOM's maritime experts. Growing up here on Buzzards Bay, doing a bunch of boating, I was able to turn that into a greater good purpose job for our country. So I did that for some time. Now I'm back here, and it's be a great honor to serve our veterans and their families, past and present, just to give back a little bit. So, appreciate your time, and any questions you have for me, feel free.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. It's great to
Thank
have
you.
you
And-
back on
yeah.
the East Coast.
I think the beauty of our board, and certainly with Matt and the advisory board, is that when Matt was brought in here to reach out and find veterans who needed help, and that's exactly what they've done. And it's
Motion to approve.
fabulous.
Second that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Any comments or questions?
With a big, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your service.
And thanks for waiting. It didn't take long, but
All good. Thank
I
you.
got to go by the list. Okay. Long-Term Capital Planning Committee Select Board member. We voted last week last meeting to establish this committee with the members, and at this point, we want to, in my conversation with Sean, was we want to send out the list of the ones we approved and get this committee moving and to meet as soon as we can. So the idea, of course, was to discuss this. We've already We've already done the detail, now it's a question of who would like to be the member. I would submit my name for that, but I am willing to.
Oh, yeah, you were the person I was gonna choose.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Go ahead, submit your name.
You're retired.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You're all set. Go for it.
This is,
You want a retirement? You're
I'll
gonna have
recommend
it.
Mr. Tattlebaum.
this is, thank you.
Wholeheartedly. You're up against it.
I think this is a
Jan
great
gonna say that?
opportunity, given the fact that we know some of the projects we're looking at as long-term, but it will be great to have this community and your participation on the community, on the committee, so we can look at those long-term plans that each department submits, 5 and 10 years, and be looking as a board eventually at what are we going to have to start chipping away at.
Looking
We
at-
have some major expenses on the horizon.
Yep, looking at it
So
a
Dave,
different way.
I totally support
Oh, thank you.
your
It's
seat
just,
on the board.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Before we even decide this, I do have one question to ask.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna get in trouble with your wife for being away all the time, or is she just
No,
gonna
she's
enjoy it?
encouraging me. I'm trying to.
She's encouraged you after the. that's what I
Another
thought.
night out for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank God.
Just wanted to check.
She paid me to
We're
say
all
that.
here to maintain our marriages.
She has her new electric bike, and she's out on
Oh,
a regular
gosh.
basis, and I had to find her, so that, thank you for the consideration, Sean, but,
Just wanna make sure.
remember, we worked together for many years, so,
Yes.
we got an opportunity to go in different directions now, it's great. She's a great support system to me, and we talk about it often, just a little bit of help, thank you. Appreciate your concern on that one. Do we need to vote on this?
Nope, it's yours.
Okay.
Well, you should.
What the
All
charge?
right,
There's
so
a motion.
I'll make a motion that we nominate, that we appoint Mr. Tattlebaum as the Select Board Representative to the Long Range Planning Committee.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Come on.
Oh,
Vote?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mrs. McDonald?
Hell, yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
In the chair, can I vote for myself?
You can if you want.
I will, thank you. Okay.
Okay,
Also, do we,
unanimous.
We're going to send out
the
letters
committee
to the other
charge?
committees to, no, we're going to do that at the first meeting, I think is what the,
That's been approved.
That's been approved.
yeah. Now we're just
So
going to
we're
get
all
the
set.
members together, so we'll send that letters out. All right, Sean, we talked about it, okay.
He hasn't responded.
Okay, one-day approvals list.
It's not that much, you know?
Yes, Select Board Member McDonald has been working hard to approve, per the entire board's recommendation last year, the one-day licenses once they've been reviewed by town staff. This is the list of one-day entertainment licenses that have been approved since February. So,
Not that
Been a
big.
busy man, Miss McDonald.
It's easy.
Oh, it's a lot smaller list than I thought.
Well, most of the time they come here. If there's time for it to come before the board, let it come before the board.
Right.
I mean, the motorcycle event, that came before us, so that was for an obvious reason. We wanted them to come before us. So, but the one that will come before us next year, of course, is the carnival. That'll always come
Oh, boy.
before us.
Okay. Sean, the motorcycle event, these are, well,
We
June
approved,
22nd.
we approved the 4, right.
Right.
Because
Okay.
the June 22nd, they came before the June meeting, before this date, so that we wanted to make sure that, the
Right.
parking and the events were stressed.
Police, yeah.
And the police detail on that event. These others, they pretty much speak for themselves.
And they're ongoing every year.
Right.
You, any other changes do you want to recommend, or the way it's going, or you like the way it's
No,
going? I think, yeah.
no, not really. I mean, because, once I get the notification that it's waiting for, our review, I actually do look at what the event is. I do look at the stuff submitted. I do look at, the dialogue trail, if there's a dialogue trail with the departments. Check on the fire department, see what they have to say, the police, see what they have to say, Board of Health, see what they, and if there's anything that
Red
sticks
flag,
out
yeah.
at me, I'll try to, I haven't done it yet, well, other than the battleship. It's pretty much, this is pretty much easy, really easy stuff, so.
Most people submit on time to give enough time to do it?
Yeah, with the exception,
Uh-oh.
with the exception of the carnival, that was one of
Oh,
them.
yes.
That was just a cluster, you know what.
Whoa,
And there was another one that was just recently.
Would you think we should have like some kind of like a public hearing on the carnival, like a couple of months before, whatever? 3 months before?
They should, I think they got the idea, and it's mostly the mall people that need to be clued in, that they need to come before us well in advance.
Great.
You know, and first of all, I mean, when you hold a carnival and you don't have the delectable eateries that go along with it.
The hockey pucks,
Yeah.
Right down.
It's just not.
That's where the profits are.
It's
Well,
just, yeah, it's
because
just
they
not the
changed
thing.
the
It's-
location.
Well, besides they changed the location, but the problem is that there was also a problem with the food vendors. The food vendors didn't get their permitting through the Board of Health. The Board of Health didn't permit any of the food vendors. That's why there was no food.
Right.
Because of the time frame that they were looking for the permits. So, I mean, they didn't do it well in advance, and it was haphazardly, and it was slap-happy put together, to be honest with you.
I think you described it perfectly as a cluster.
Yeah, well.
Well, they might
But
not
I
come-
do
they might not
think-
come back.
The quorum has me
Oh, they'll be
saying
back.
it's something.
I do
They'll be
think-
back. I mean, they were just here. They were just here this weekend.
Is the same guy?
Fiesta, yeah, Fiesta did the Whaling City.
Yeah.
So.
I do thank you for taking this on, because I do think this moves the process quicker than when folks were coming before us, just as sort of a rubber stamp. And I thank you for taking it seriously and looking, as you stated, through all the other department.
Yeah. I mean, it takes, really, to be honest with you, on average, it takes less than 10 minutes to go through.
Oh, boy, I thought there were a couple hours on each one.
No, not a couple hours.
Yeah,
No.
anyway.
No, I'd get no work done.
Well, I also think that it helps us to avoid taking up that kind of time in a meeting, because it's just not necessary.
I mean, let's put it
Unless
this
it's
way.
a-
I mean, how many times does the cultural center have to come in here
Right.
for an event, and an event, and an event, and an event, and an event? And it's just the same thing, you know? Or you know, Jeff Costa from, you know, the Holy Ghost.
The Holy
Grounds.
Ghost Grounds.
Right, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's simple stuff. He's holding a wedding, there's gonna be alcohol. He's holding a wedding, there's no alcohol. There's a fundraiser, there's alcohol, there's no, you know, it's pretty much easy. It's easier for them, and it makes the process more user-friendly.
And that's what we're looking for.
Right.
Okay. Good. Any other comments? Anybody? Job well done, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay, next, where are we?
That's the last thing I got on this one.
Okay, board and committee appointments, Waterways Management Committee, Kevin Murphy.
I would like to propose that we accept Kevin Murphy's interest in serving another 3-year term on the Waterways Management Committee.
That's a motion.
That's a motion.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Second that, Mr. Manise. It's not
Mr.
Manise.
Gracie.
Mr. Gracie.
He's got a new
I work
name.
with the
Getting
Frank
tired,
Manise for
buddy.
years. I work with the for years. Okay, sorry. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay. Let's vote. We're gonna switch, okay. Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Not Mr. Manise, Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, 5-0. Thank you for your service, Mr. Murphy. And of course, they got a new regime, thanks to Mr. Hickey, and finally retiring.
Yeah.
New regime out there. Look forward to working with them all. It's going to
Yep.
be great. Okay, next, town administrator update.
Yes, just a few updates. The town received notification that we're going to get FEMA reimbursement for COVID funds expended for $345,000. And I'd like to thank Shannon Lyonnaise at the police department. She kind of spearheaded the effort and pulled all the information together and worked with FEMA on that, so that's excellent news. Some information on the library. I had a meeting with the library director today. And their library circulation just in June was over 17,000 items. It's like over the largest in the sales network.
Isn't that great?
And
Amazing.
for FY23, they tracked their visitors. They had over 130,000 visitors.
Yeah, nobody uses the library.
No, why don't we build that thing?
Those are great facts to really present to the public because it's a very well-utilized resource in town. And
Nowhere to go but up.
Yes.
We'll put an expansion on it soon, won't we? No. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry.
Nope, that's no
Not my
problem.
lifetime.
Pickleball court construction is ongoing at both the North Regional Park and down on Russell's Mills Road, Slocum Road there. So it should be completed by early August. So hopefully to see people out there playing pickleball.
Don't worry about that.
Our environmental affairs coordinator, Mark Garrett, will be speaking on sea level rise and coastal resiliency at the Dartmouth Cultural Center on July 13th. I thought I'd get that out. So Mark does a great job of educating people on sea level rise and coastal resiliency, particularly in town.
Cultural Center, man, those guys are awesome.
They are. It's great. It's a great resource in town.
Particularly.
Lastly, last week we had received complaint about an Eversource issue with a manhole. Someone received a shock. So I just want to give an update. We contacted Eversource. They responded to the location immediately. They found no stray voltage during a number of tests for streetlights, grates, and store covers. So they take the issues of any type of shock through a manhole seriously. They weren't able to determine any cause, but I know it kind of I heard from some people that there was an issue. So just want to inform the public that Eversource was out there. They did a thorough assessment and were not able to.
They were
determine.
back 2 or 3 different times. Yeah. So
that is it.
Whoever it was. Somebody's got a little machine down there or something.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
All business.
All set? Thank you. Okay, next.
Old business.
yeah.
Bliss Corner, no new updates. The same with like Nokichoke. Municipal broadband, they are contracting, and the board voted to approve the vendor to do the study. We're in the process of finalizing the written contract, so we hope to have them started by August. Mass DEP, in case people didn't hear, they decided to implement their proposed Title V amendments only on Cape Cod. So the South Coast and Dartmouth has a reprieve from their proposed amendments, but the town is also, per the board's direction, pursuing its own water quality studies and initiatives to promote its own clean water in town. So with that.
I have a comment on that, Title V. I'd like to make a proposal that we, I know it's a late hour, but I think this is important. I think that I'd like to propose that we have a workshop. We've been given a reprieve from the DEP to do what we need to do best for the town at our rate and the way we want to do it on our priority list. And I would like to, as a suggestion from my point of view, we'll call it a summit, we'll call it a workshop regarding clean drinking water, proper sewer treatment, watershed protection. What are our priorities? I think we should invite the Board of Health, the DPW, the Director of Finance, anybody else you want to think of, have an open meeting, and end up with what are the most important things we can do. For instance, composting. We can do something. And there's a lot of other things like that. I think that we need to keep taking action. We need to keep out in front of our residents, and we need to set those priorities. Mr. McDonald had other suggestions regarding testing and whatever that might be, and come up with a priority list to make sure that we're attacking this thing going forward and we don't let it rest, because we are in charge. And then I also spoke with Chris Markey, all in favor of helping us out, attending this workshop. We'll ask Senator Montigny as well, get the state involved, and with the MMA involved, and his suggestion would be that other communities who have the same issue, whether it be composting, et cetera, so we can go to the DEP with respect, with a hat in hand, and say, here's the problem, we think we have a solution, whatever it might be. And I'm sorry for rambling, but I think that these are my suggestions as to what I think we should do, but I'd like to put this where, it could be a meeting where we meet for a half an hour and then leave an hour and a half at this meeting to bring people in and invite the public as well. So I open that to discussion. Anybody there?
I would like to say that I feel that what you're describing is the backbone of what we were hoping the Water Quality Committee would do. We have received a few letters of interest in that Water Quality Committee, but not the number that I was expecting, and not equally distributed throughout the watersheds in Dartmouth. But it certainly is something that I would think would be on the list of that water quality, and I think the meeting that you're proposing sort of kicks it off and reboosts the interest in that. So I think our best bet is to set a date, invite those stakeholders that you mentioned, and I wrote down a few others, and have, of course, also open to the public. But I think it would give us an opportunity to revisit the information that we had received through the Title V work that was being done, the presentation that Dan Goulart did from Buzzards Bay Coalition, the presentation that Chris Michaud did regarding specifically composting in Dartmouth. And I think it would be great to send those out to the people as attachments to the boards that we're inviting. And if any board feels that they need to come in mass, then they would have to, produce an open, comply with open meeting law regulations. But I think we need to kick this off.
Comments?
Yeah, it's good to know you guys read my email.
We did. Okay.
That's 'cause
Anybody else? Questions or comments? I think that I think we got some support here, and I think our residents deserve this, and I think that it's great. So
as I said in the email back in June,
right ahead.
Let us lead and not follow.
Yep.
So let us be the one to show DEP that we are going to take charge of our own and leave us alone.
I also think, Sean, that it's important, and I think we're going to get Chris Markey's back on this support as well. I don't think DEP is out there trying to find ways to make life miserable for us. I think they're having as much problem getting things done, getting organized, they have turnover. I think that if we can become a partner with them and say, we need to do this, and here's why our hands are tied, and can you help us? And we're going to come with 3 or 4 other communities. I think they would be welcome to that, and go to them with a partnership as opposed to an adversary.
I don't have a problem being in a partnership with DEP as long as DEP is listening to us to be a partner and not reacting to a lawsuit.
100%.
Knee-jerk reactions.
Correct.
What came out of all of the DEP is information that once you know, you can't unknow. Once we know the harm that's happening to the environment, we cannot sit here as citizens and say we're okay with it. We need to solve the problem.
Okay. So do we want to put a date, establish a date? Do we want to get back to it, Sean? Or what do you think? How do you want to handle that?
Well, if I'll work with you on identifying the stakeholders and picking a date.
Then get a date.
Okay. Maybe bring it up at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Is that all right? Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you for your conversation and support. Okay. How are we doing here? Everybody still awake? Okay. No minutes here to be approved. Anybody have any comments for select board updates?
I just got one quick one. Last month, Frank Gracie and myself met with the 3 fire districts again to go over some of their needs and their concerns, and similar concerns and similar needs since the first meeting we had with them. And it's interesting that we do have some interesting comments by one of the fire districts that obviously covers UMass Dartmouth. They had 150 false alarms. That I find almost amazing, and they have to go out there, service them, and never being reimbursed. So I find that kind of crazy.
Washington. Zoom
And
those days, yes.
the other thing is, we're talking about Fire District 1 in their expansion. And my comments were, once the expansion's done, and they'll have extra room in that building, the old fire station across the street needs to be returned to the town, and it needs to be made off-street parking that I've talked about my entire life on this board and before I got here. I have engineered plans for that property, and I've had them for 12 years now. That needs to get done. We need off-street parking for the village. We need to have that done quickly once we get the property back in our name, in the town's name. And the town did give that property to the fire district at one point. Let's return it back when the time comes and get that parking lot done.
And Mr. Mickelson, you're saying that you discussed that at that meeting?
Well, yeah, I mentioned that would give us the time to talk about, once that's done, the expansion, that we can talk about that building. And they all know what I want to do with that building.
Okay, Mr. McDonald? You done, Mr. Mickelson?
I'm done.
Mr. McDonald, anything?
No, just a clarification.
Okay, that's allowed.
Just on, I know the town rented the building from the district, but didn't the district own the building from the beginning? And then they allowed the town to use it as the park and rec, for Parks and Rec? And then because there was no more use for Parks and Rec, it went back to the district?
I believe that was the way it was done.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Mhm.
All right, just want
To
to
be
make sure.
determined.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
So it
If you
belongs
were-
to the district anyway, no matter what?
yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm not saying it
No,
doesn't.
I just wanted a
I'd
clarification.
just like to see it,
Okay.
Okay.
No,
like to see them give it to the
understand. I
town.
know exactly what you're looking for.
Mrs. Brooks,
I have a list.
a list.
Here I go.
Okay.
All right. One of the things I just wanted the Select Board to be aware is that at our last meeting of Indigenous Peoples History and Culture Committee, we reviewed the committee charge, which we had approved, and when it went to the school committee, they had taken some objections to wording.
Valid comments.
Valid. And so we looked at it, we reworked it as a committee, giving credence to their concern that the school department had equal stake in the committee as the select board. So we have reworked that. We're going to send it back to the school committee. They have a meeting next Monday, so I will be getting that to you, Sean, so you can send it through the correct channels. They'll be looking at it. And then, so that'll be the 17th, so that by the following meeting, which would be the 31st for us, we would be able to look at it once again and have their recommendations for appointments to the committee. So they're looking for some parity of select board and school department, which made sense. So that's one. Two, I just wanted to say that last week being 4th of July week, and off and on good weather days, I received a number of inquiries about beach stickers. And although we sit on the board and we've been discussing, I feel like we've been discussing the beach stickers online process since January, it still seemed to catch people off guard. And I feel badly as a customer service organization that people who look and say, aha, I have my vacation coming up, I have, the week looks good, I want to take my family to the beach. Unless they did that in advance online, there at this point are no ways for them to get a beach sticker in person. There were a lot of people who showed up at this town hall on January 3rd hoping to get it for the holiday, not really realizing that that was not the case, even though it's been on the ticker outside, we've talked about it, it's been all over Dartmouth Helping Dartmouth, just for whatever reason. So I just think going forward, and I'm looking going forward as in next season, we need to be put in some more opportunities for some face-to-face beach sticker sales.
Excuse me, but I thought they had Friday, they were able to.
4
come in.
Fridays, but they're
There were
they're
4
long gone.
Fridays.
Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
4 Wednesdays,
Wednesdays,
and they
they're
were
long
all
gone, yeah.
before the beach opened on
Right,
June 17th.
Right, right. And I equally got phone calls. I had one, just for the heck of it, one lady had a beach sticker. She went to Pontigansett, they wanted to charge her $10.
But she had a sticker.
She-
Oh. So it's a work in progress.
It's-
Also a work in progress are the DPW stickers to use the town yard, which are not online.
That's a strange system.
And so I don't understand why those cannot be online, and the beach stickers should be online. So I think we need to have a discussion with DPW to talk about if we're going to online permitting, and that's the way we're going. And this was discussed last year because they didn't do any online permitting last year either. We got to discuss why is this department
Next year,
not
they
doing.
have to be online, next year.
And there's
Here to do it.
plenty of ways for that office to send out DPW transfer station stickers in advance that come valid July 1st.
No debate.
So, just saying that. Also, I have been working with Chris Vitale on a town hall customer service survey, which I discussed last year, and he's put it together. And really, we're starting to look at just town hall departments first. He put it together so that when you select the department you interacted with, the subsequent questions. For example, if you select town clerk, it will say the options. Did you come in to license a dog, get a marriage license, all these, whatever that office is offering. If you come in to do Board of Health, it pops up the services that you could have gotten from Board of Health. Gives you an opportunity to commendate an employee in that office to say if they went above and beyond their job to assist you. It also gives you an opportunity to say if you had a problem. It also gives every person that submits that form an opportunity to say, I want follow-up. That follow-up could be emails between Sean McGinnis as town administrator, Chris Vitale as assistant town administrator, members of the select board. We would all be privy to that information. And I just think it gives people a real-time opportunity to let us know how we're doing. I do not like the weighing in on Dartmouth helping Dartmouth. Even worse, Dartmouth helping Dartmouth after dark, or whatever the other one is called. If people want to let us know how we're doing, let's give them an opportunity to do that. And so I thank Chris for putting it together. In the near future, there'll be paperwork that near each office with a QR code. So when you're there, you can scan it with your phone. It'll come right to your phone, and you can fill it out that way. There'll also be paper copies available. It does ask you like what day you had come in, but it will give us an opportunity to look for trends. So, for example, if you have something to say about beach stickers, this is an opportunity. And maybe you'll tell us that you didn't know, or you still thought there, even though you knew there were 4 Wednesdays and you didn't make it. No. But lots of information, every department in the town hall. We're going to start there, and then if it's something that we feel is worthwhile, and we talk to other departments in town, Council on Aging, Library Services, DPW, Harbor Master, any of those, we can use a similar format. But I think to get quality data and input from our citizens who use our services, this will be a way to get that information.
Great.
So, thank you.
That's it?
That is it.
Always the golden nugget from Mrs. Brooks, always. Thank you. But I experienced the sticker myself at the DPW, and it's fairly archaic, I guess I would call that system. Now that I'm retired, I go to the dump.
Apparently
on a regular
works.
basis, yeah.
I gotta renew mine.
Do you? Okay, you get arrested if you're not careful.
No, I don't use it that often.
Okay.
Only for styrofoam.
Okay. We have, I think we're just about done.
At the end, motion to adjourn.
Second.
No questions. You can't have any questions. Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very, very much.